Hey, I'm Collin. Welcome to What's New in Sybill. If we haven't met before, I'm a product marketer here at Sybill. I'm joined by Gorish, who is our CEO, and Drew is also on this call, who also works on our product and marketing team. And we're excited to give you guys all a breakdown of everything that is new in Sybil's. So here is a little bit of our roadmap for our time together. Gorish and I are going to cover a bunch of new features. And the plan is I'll give you a little bit of the before and after on each feature, just so you know what we've changed. And then Gorish will give you the live demo, which is always the more stressful part. So Gorish, thank you. Along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And either someone from our team will try to address it. So Drew's in the chat. I know Olivia's in the chat. I'll try to hop in there from time to time. If we don't get to it, we will try to get to it at the end for a Q&A. All right, let's let it rip. First, let's talk AI emails. So if you've played around with Sybill at all, you know that we go really heavy on all things customization. So almost everything in the Sybill app is customizable. So from meeting summaries to pre-meeting briefs, you can build your own fields. And of course, email templates. But the flip side of building a product that way is sometimes you can have almost too many options and it can get a little bit overwhelming. So one of the biggest problems we had with AI email was that our previous builder was really powerful. The feedback we got is that it occasionally felt like writing code, which is obviously a problem. And so we wanted to fix that, which is why we've rebuilt emails from the ground up. So first off, we tackled the builder and we just made it a lot simpler. So you'll notice that when you build an email in Sybill, it'll open up in the sidebar and Sybill will take a pass at that email based on context from the call, from your CRM, from your emails. And then you can edit it directly in the builder, just like you would a standard email builder. Now you'll notice at the very top, there's that little drop down that says Smart Template. You can select from either existing templates that you've written or ones that you got from the template library, or what we've called a smart template, which is kind of where the big second changes come with emails. So Sybill now fully learns from all of your past emails, not just for context on what to say, but on how to actually say it. So for example, if you are a very lax communicator, you use a lot of colloquial language, Sybill is going to match that. Or if you're a big bullet point person, Sybill is going to draft an email that has a lot of bullet points. Or if you're more formal and buttoned up, again, Sybill will match it. And here's the thing, the best feedback we've gotten here that we've gotten from a handful of sellers is that Sybill writes an email and they quote, barely need to change anything before they send it, which to me, I think for AI email is as good of an ask as you could really reach for, because at the end of the day, selling is still a human experience and you want to have some contact with your prospects, which makes a ton of sense. So that's the big change on all things emails. Now let's talk tasks. When it came to tasks, Sybill was really good at creating a task list based on your calls, but that task list could quickly sort of pile up. And when those tasks slipped, deals started to slip. So we knew that if we were going to say Sybill is truly a quote AI assistant, that it couldn't just keep a task list for you. It actually had to start handling those tasks, which is exactly what we built. Now AI tasks doesn't just capture and create the tasks, it actually executes the tasks. So some examples are follow-up email. This is sort of the obvious one, but maybe if you have to build a business case, Sybill can actually execute and build that business case from you based on the meeting that it was requested from. Or maybe you have to even send a calendar invite. Sybill can draft the calendar invite. If your prospect said, hey, yeah, let's do next Tuesday at 8 a.m., Sybill will recognize that and you can build a calendar invite directly from Sybill. All right, I've talked a lot. I want to pause now and we'll actually do a live demo of both AI tasks and emails, and I will hand it over to Gorish to take the screen.
Perfect. I'll take that out. So I'm first going to show you AI emails, and then we will go into tasks. So here is, for instance, a call that I took with Startree a few weeks back. Now, after this call, Sybill generated an AI email, which is very much in my tone of voice and how I like to write emails for this specific call. So essentially, if you go through this email over here, this is something we call smart templates. So it's learning as you are writing or as you are sending out emails, it's learning from your style on those specific calls. So it's figuring here, I don't like to use big fancy propositions like, it was great chatting with you today. I really appreciate you, Carvin. It's making it very quick, very casual. So great chatting today. Appreciate you both carving out time during a crazy week. So it also makes it personalized slightly. This is the way I like to do it. And then it adds what are the next steps, which is what I like to do. And then it also adds my signature based on how I like to send my emails. So extremely personalized. Sybill is learning how I do that, and it's keeping that fresh. The second piece is tasks. So from every call, from every email, whether it's internal, external, it's picking up all of the tasks. And I can view all of these tasks in a single list over here. So this is my entire list of tasks. These are tasks that are coming in from internal meetings over here, or meetings which are related directly to a deal, or from emails as well. This task has pre-assigned priority to it, which is low, medium, or high. It has a due date whenever the task was created. And then I can execute on that task from this window right over here. So for example, if I need to create a project overview for Loxo, all I need to do is click on that button. And over here, I've already clicked it. So it's showing it up, but it helps me with that task creation piece. And this task could actually be a deck creation or an email, or it could be any calendar invite. And then I'm asking it to go deeper into that specific task. Once the task is completed, you can send it off. If it's an email, you can send it off right from the Sybill platform. If it's a calendar invite, it will take you to that invite platform. Or if it's a deck, it will create your PDF. It will also figure out whether the task was completed. So it will automatically show you as seems completed, and then you can check it off to put it in your closed bucket. Last but not the least, I can also assign tasks from here to my team members. So I can say I need to send this task to Ankita. So this shows up under her tab, and then it will show up on her side, that task on whatever has been reassigned to her as a function. And I can show which tasks were reassigned by me to her from over here. On to you, Colin.
All right. Nick, thanks, Gorish. That was great. All right, let's talk meetings. If your meetings look anything like mine, they are full of a lot of meeting bots at this point. We have even a few on this call. You'll see Jack's note taker, Colin's Sybill assistant. What the problem is they're taking up all this space on the screen, and they're serving kind of as this constant reminder that you are, in fact, being recorded. And so we wanted to fix that, which is why we built what we're calling invisible mode. So with invisible mode, Sybill can record your meetings without actually having a visible bot in the meeting. So this means you can still get all the summaries, tasks, follow-ups, and even the recording if you want it without bots being visible on the call. Now, today, this feature is available in beta. So we have a number of customers who are using it, stoked on it. And if you want, you can get early access to this just by shooting us an email, and we will get it live in your account. But the way this feature works is it's built primarily on a browser extension that you can download in the Sybill app. Gorish will show you this in a moment. And then from there, in your meetings, you can control in the top bar of your computer. So again, all of this is happening outside of what's happening on the Zoom or Google Meets screen. And you can record the meeting without taking up all of that extra screen real estate. Now, I'll turn it over to Gorish to show a little bit of how this works.
Yeah, this is super exciting. All right. So if you see the way the invisible recorder works is basically it's a tab on the top that where you have all the information related to that invisible recorder. It's a DMG file that you download to your laptop. You give it certain preferences. It's a very straightforward flow. The meetings will essentially show up over here. So as you can see, this is for our webinar. So everything that we are speaking will show up on this webinar. At the end of the meeting, we will also capture the video screen as well as the transcript screen. So it's not only transcript that's captured, it will be linked back to the actual conversation. So it will figure out who the participants are in the back end so that we are not simply recording speaker one, speaker two, speaker three. But then on the top over here, there are certain settings where you can record Slack huddles from here. You can record any kind of live meetings. um, these are all the meetings. I can directly start a meeting from here, or I can, if I need to, open up the pre-meeting brief for that specific individual meeting. And I see the live transcription alongside that's going on. This transcription is a summary transcription. Once the call ends, it also gets converted into a live uh, ongoing transcription with speakers labeled, and you get the video alongside.
Yeah,
Colin,
and
back to you.
I just want to even highlight something significant about what you said, Gorish, is there are lots of tools out there that are kind of building their whole platform on being an invisible note taker. What sets Sybill apart here with this feature, the invisible mode, is that you're not just getting the notes. You actually do have access to the entire transcript, the entire recording, which, I mean, ideally no one's wanting to dig through recordings. You shouldn't have to. That is kind of the whole point of a tool like Sybill. But should you need it, it's there and you actually will have access to it. Next, all right, let's talk Ask Sybill. Ask Sybill is kind of our bread and butter. If you are new to Sybill, Ask Sybill lets you ask questions across all of your calls, email, and deals. It's super straightforward, but really powerful. People have said things like, it's sort of like Gong meets ChatGPT, but on steroids, which we think we are in a league of our own, but we'll take the comparisons. Now, Ask Sybill has been killer since we launched, but there are some limitations. So like first, anytime you had a question, it had to happen in the Ask Sybill chat page. So if you're reviewing a deal summary, for example, and you were curious, hey, what did Chris say again about budget this quarter? You could type it in the top bar, but then a new window would open and you would have to switch contexts. And it was kind of just disruptive. It kind of broke flow. Further, for a while, Ask Sybill was limited primarily to call data. So it couldn't take into account an email that you sent or an update that you made in the CRM that maybe didn't happen on a call. It had a few blind spots. And finally, most sellers I know are verbal processors. They prefer to talk things out instead of type things out. But when it came to deal questions, it was just all typing all the time. Like if you had all these thoughts swirling in your head, you still need to condense them down to fit inside of a chat bar. So we've made some big changes to Ask Sybill to fix all of that. First, to solve for context switching, we built split view. So now you'll actually see the Ask Sybill can pop up anywhere you are in the Ask Sybill app. So if you are, for example, in a meeting summary, you can ask questions without leaving that meeting summary, without breaking your flow, no context switching required. Second, Ask Sybill now lets you upload files. So if you want to drop in a business case or a pitch deck or just about anything else into Ask Sybill to give it context or have Sybill build an asset you're looking for, Sybill can handle that. So last week, something I did is I have kind of a template I love for competitive battle cards. I dropped in a literal screenshot from a slide deck, dropped it in and said, hey, can you build a competitive battle card based on this template for competitor X? And Sybill did it, which was rad. Third, Sybill now has more context than ever. So we brought in CRM data, email data, and now web search. So something we were finding is that people were using Ask Sybill a lot for what's happening in their deals, but there were still times where it's like, hey, this is information that doesn't exist in our ecosystem. I need to go search the web. So I'm going to jump into ChatGPT. We're trying to change that. Ideally, you can stay in Sybill because now Sybill can pull deal context from your CRM, from that last follow-up, or even an article on the internet from a recent acquisition. Sybill can see that entire picture, and then you can ask questions accordingly. And finally, for my verbal processors, we've added dictation, which feels like a small thing, but for me, I love it. Like I'm obsessed. I've been using it ever since it launched. So you can talk to Sybill instead of typing into Sybill. Now, all four of these features are available now. They are in product. They are live. You can use them if you are using Sybill, or you can start a trial. But I will hand it over to Gorish to actually run a demo on these.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite piece because I've been using this almost every single day to run my own sales team. So I'm super excited to share this. Okay, so over here, this is my call that we took earlier. If I need to ask Sybill a question, so maybe what's going on in this deal? If I simply ask Sybill that, it opens up a sidebar which allows me to continue working in my screen. So I can see the transcript, I can see the video while Sybill is thinking and processing that answer. Okay, so this is the sidebar piece. Now I don't need to break my flow for this. And I can continue chatting on it while I'm looking at the conversation. I get the deal overview, obviously. Uh, but then anything else I need to. The next piece here is if I need to add in a new collateral. So let's say I'll again take an example. So I am attaching our standard order form. So this could be a screenshot, this could be a PDF. I think we also process presentations. So I personally have not tried that yet, but I'm attaching a standard order form. I want to customize it for the deal at Startree. Look at calls and emails with Startree. So I've given it a separate order form, a different company, and I'm just asking it to customize this. Add the answer, which is ready. This one will take about 10 seconds to get here, but essentially I get a full order form, which is in the format, but which also pulls in things like billing contact from the conversation. It pulls like, what do they need? When is their starting point? And it will pick up even the names and titles and anything specific in between. I skipped the middle part because there are some confidential details, but uh, it does get through to the entire company. So no more having to type each thing. You could personalize this to create any proposal, any one page, or even a mutual action plan, for example, right over here. Now, the third piece, which is again a very interesting part, is any around web search. So as I'm getting into meetings, I typically want to figure out what is happening across the organization, especially if it's a more enterprise or a strategic customers. I need to understand, do they have priorities which are competing or which are helping me? So I'll turn on web search over here. I have the simple prompt. You can change the prompt to your requirements. So I'm meeting with the Whatfix team next week. Help me understand the latest in the company, any recent acquisition or news, what the key priorities are, and put this in the context of the last calls or deals we have had. Again, I've run this prompt. So it is it picks up everything I need to know about Whatfix, information online, and puts that in context of what I am selling and the conversations we have had with them. So 125 million Series E, that is great. I should know that. They're gearing up for IPO by 26, which is again very, very critical for me to know. 700 customers. They're also getting into US federal sector. Now, this is something which I would not have known unless I had run this kind of a query. Um, they had a 6% workforce reduction. This is again another piece which I would have, and especially in the sales and marketing role. So another piece which I could have missed out. Uh, it also puts that. So this is information related to sales and marketing. I'm not getting engineering related details or maybe product related or something else. This is specifically sales and marketing, which is relevant to us. So makes it extremely useful, easy to prepare for the conversation. So, and Sybill will give you stuff like strategic context. Timing is critical. They are in cost optimization mode. AI first focus creates urgency. And then federal sector entry means they have new compliance needs. So this is web search. You can use it for a variety of use cases. We have been using it even to do more prospecting on our end, figure out which opportunities we might have missed out on because we did not have certain features, but they're now back on the radar. And I can use something from the news in order to re-engage those opportunities. So we have been using it for a little bit of that prospecting upsell use case, which makes it really interesting because I can ask Sybil a query like, look at all my 2024 calls and deals and figure out which ones we lost due to features we did not have then, but we have now introduced. And I want Sybil to create a re-engagement email for each of those deals and take that in account into web search for that deal. Where is the company at? And Sybil builds out 20, 30, 40 emails for that opportunity based on what we had discussed back then, the feature that we now have launched, and also web search. Like it does all of that in a single prompt. The last piece, which is we want to talk to someone as opposed to simply have to type in, because sometimes these prompts are long. I will use this dictation function to simply ask Sybil on what's going on my top 10 deals, and Sybil will automatically figure out the answer. It got that little piece incorrect, but that's fine. It should still give me the right answer. So top 10 deals associated with Gorish Agarwal before it generates the answer and we come to see how bad I am at, but I will stop sharing. But it does get you the answer.
Cool. We are a little bit ahead of schedule, so I actually wanted to pause and ask a question that Scott has in the chat. Do you have a minute to speak to that real quick on asset upload?
Yep. Oh, okay. I am reading the question. So can I do the asset uploading iteratively during the call as if I'm on a call with a client? We're drafting a product description, brainstorming back and forth. Can I use this feature to have the product description after 5 minutes, then 5 minutes later? This cannot be used on the live transcript today. That's a really good idea. Actually, we hadn't thought of that. We might introduce this soon, but essentially you can still use the feature. And maybe another thing you can do is you can turn on, and there's a new use case I haven't thought of, but this is super cool. You can turn on live dictation. So Sybill is going to continue dictating, continue translating whatever you're saying. And that ways you have the context, or you can copy that context over from the live transcript from the invisible mode and put that into the chat and then create the description. And then you can take that as a continuous chat thread. So that ways, the more information you keep on giving it, the more richer the product description will get. So in a way, we would be able to solve that. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks for addressing that. We'll come back to some more questions here in a minute. Now let's move forward. I want to talk a little bit about if Sybill is increasingly becoming sellers' favorite tool. I want to talk about their second favorite, or maybe a necessary evil that many sellers are using every single day, and that is Slack. So today, from Sybill, you can push recurring prompts from Sybill into Slack. So say, for example, you could schedule on Monday morning to get a weekly deal breakdown of everything that's going on in your current deals and maybe what the most urgent actions are. That can get pushed to Slack on a schedule, you decide. Or maybe a monthly win loss. This is something I run where I have a monthly competitive analysis that runs and gets pushed to our competitive channel. But if a deal question comes up in Slack, like say your manager DMs you and wants to know what's happening with a certain deal, you would have to then leave Slack to get that answer from Sybill. And we wanted to fix that. So that's why we built Sybill Slackbot. Now you can ask Sybill questions directly from Slack without actually having to jump back and forth. You just tag Sybill with your question and hit send. And from there, Sybill will think and pull the answer from your calls, emails, and CRM directly into Slack. Now, this slide is actually a little bit misleading because if you are already integrated with Sybill, I believe this is actually already available. Don't tell anyone. But that feature is built and our team is using it a lot internally already. So I want to hand it over to Gorish to show that in action.
Hell yeah. Okay. I am going to take you into my Slack bot. I will question which is already queued up. Let's see. So I simply say, hey, ask Sybil. That's our Slack bot. What's the latest on our deal with Cedric? This could be prompt of any kind that you get with us. Sybil is thinking, which is why there's a hourglass sign. And in a few seconds, it will get me the answer. And I can have a follow-on conversation. Okay, I need to connect with the EB here. What do I need to do? What should I send them? And oops. Send. And then again, this can continue in the threads itself. So you don't have to get to the Sybil platform. If you want to go, you should be able to see a link here to get to the platform where you can access the calls and deals directly. And Sybil will also take you to the actual deal. Or if there's a call that is linked, it will take you to that actual call. Okay.
Awesome. All right, let's talk a little bit about what is actually ahead for Sybil. All right. Before we wrap, I want to give a glimpse of just what's kind of coming and what's ahead in Sybil. So first, today, Sybil can fill almost any field that is in your CRM. But when you ask Sybil about a deal, so if you had to say, hey, tell me what's going on deal X, Sybil is not able to pull from every field. It's able to pull from, we've selected a handful of priority fields, but in which we do think satisfy the majority of use cases. But we wanted to make it possible that you could pull from every single field. So we're changing that. Ask Sybil will soon be able to pull from every single field in your CRM rather than just those priority fields. Now, speaking of data sources, one of the most untapped data sources in most orgs is what's happening in your team conversations in Slack. So maybe you use your sales channel to DM to strategize, hey, here's how we're going to move forward with deal X or deal Y. Ideally, Sybil should know that. Sybil should know that, hey, your manager said you should reach out and do this sequence. Now, Sybil is going to know exactly that. Sybil will be pulling in conversations from Slack directly into Sybil. So you will have a kind of closed loop ecosystem of everything your team is talking about around a deal. Now, let's come back to tasks for a second. Today, tasks are built directly from meeting context, but sometimes the need that comes from a task will evolve. So say, for example, you decide on Tuesday, you need to send a pricing proposal after a demo. But on Wednesday, you have a chat and you decide, actually, we need to include this discount in that pricing proposal. And also we need to send it to Tom. Now, in the old way, tasks wouldn't be stitching together those individual details across the task and consolidating them. Soon, Sybil's going to be connecting the dots across all those conversations so that when you go to build that pricing proposal, it knows all the kind of ways that task need has evolved, which is a massive shift so that to make tasks even more powerful than they are today. And finally, we talked a little bit earlier about how one of the kind of great killers of focus is context switching, this moving from screen to screen. And a lot of times that's not just changing from one task to another task. A lot of that comes down to not switching tasks, but switching tools. So today, if you want to send a calendar invite or an email, Sybil will build that for you. But ultimately, you still have to open Gmail or you have to ultimately open your calendar. Soon that will not be the case. Sybil will actually be able to execute tasks in other tools without having to open those tools. So that's a little glimpse of what's coming. A lot of this is very short-term stuff. This is not a year out. This is like a month or so out. But we wanted to give you all a heads up on some of what we are building. Now, with that, we've moved pretty quick. There have been a few questions in the comments, but we want to slow down now and actually take some live questions. We've got a little bit of time. Let me skim through. Go for it, Gorish.
Since we have time, I want to show another thing. This is also another
Oh,
piece
great.
which is coming. It's part of the last piece that you saw, which is to do everything directly from Sybil. It's really in beta. I just got a glimpse of this last night from my team, but it is extremely, extremely cool. So this is a deal we have been working on, and there's the entire deal context going on. So I've been asking it to figure out a CRO transformation roadmap. But eventually I ask, this is great. Can you please make a presentation out of this? At this point, Sybil literally creates a full-blown presentation from all of the conversations we have had, from all of the email and everything that I have given it. And it is a full presentation on what is the context today. They're using Gong. They're considering replacing Sybil. What have we heard from Loxo? It's very specific. Like 3,300 calls cannot be analyzed at scale. This is a number they have shared with me. I have the bit like I just got this access. You can see it's not even my account, but this presentation is on point to what I want to share with them. Now, formatting and all, yes, there are things I would love to include my template presentation. We are working on those, but this is where we are getting towards. So essentially, you can make the entire flow out of Sybil. So I want to be able to share. This is great. This is just a query. It's not going to happen live. Can you attach this to the email or to a follow-up email and send it out? And send it out. And that's it. You should not have to go to even Gmail or any other tool in order to do this step. Sybil will automatically download the presentation in the backend, upload it to the email, and send it out as a follow-up email automatically from the platform. this is what Colin meant when he said, we want everyone to be executing tasks from the platform itself. And it's like a 20-page presentation for them. I can change it any way I want.
That's okay. I have not even seen that yet. So, so thanks for the cutting edge of what we're building at Sybill. Sweet. Let's take some time again for Q&A. Gorish, I'll probably let you lead on a lot of these questions, but the first one comes from Chris. Chris asks, sometimes I have manual notes when prospects request no recorders for security purposes. How can I upload those notes into a meeting or a deal in Sybill so the AI will include them in deal summaries, medpic, et cetera? So they're taking their notes outside of it because of that prospect not wanting the recording. How do we get that context into a deal?
Yeah, few different ways. Great question, Chris. I face this when I'm running my deals. One thing you can do is you can record an audio note and you can add that, upload that into Sybill. You can tag that to a specific deal so it gets accessed every time there is a new Q&A. The other piece, which you should be able to do very, very soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks towards the end of the year, is upload that note into Salesforce or your CRM field in the deal, and Sybill will be able to access it when it's answering questions on that deal. The third thing you would be able to do probably in Q1 of next year is have a dedicated place in Sybill to add notes or additional information about the deal, which is not happening in the platform. So that could be a WhatsApp conversation or a text conversation. It could be notes that as a human I'm writing, but that's coming up in Q1.
Sweet. Scott, you asked just a general question. If you want access to invisible mode, you can email myself or email Gorish. We're just first name at Sybill.ai. That goes for anyone. We'll also send the recording. You can reply to one of those. Email us and we will make it happen. Kaiwei asks, hey, we're using Teams. Any timeline on sending Teams users some love?
Yes. It's a request that has been coming up more often. We should be prioritizing Teams in the upcoming H1 of 2026. So we need to build out. It might happen sooner, but I'm giving out a conservative timeline just in case we get delayed.
Kevin, you asked, is a Slackbot feature live or in beta? I'm gonna share a behind the scenes glimpse. It was live as of yesterday, and then my OCD said, I want you to cut the ask out of at, like when you type it should just be, hey, at Sybill. And so they may have pulled it back. If not, it will be in products in the next, like either today or tomorrow. If it's not already, you could literally go test it if you're connected with Slack and let me know. What it'll do is if you tag, hey, ask Sybill or tag Sybill, we'll make sure that you add Sybill to that channel. So like when you send a message to someone, they're not in the channel, Sybill will make sure, hey, am I in this channel? You can add them and then it should be able to run the query. If it doesn't do that, that's my fault because I had them pull it back to make sure it's, hey, Sybill instead of ask Sybill. That's the candid answer. Follow-up question. I think this was to your slide deck, theoretically great. How about the branding? Which obviously, if it's a marketing, as a marketer, bless you for asking that question. Any thoughts on that, Gorish?
Yeah, we should be able to upload a template or branding guidelines is my expectation. It might take a few more weeks to get out with both of that. But yeah, the goal is like you have a standard template in Sybill itself, essentially. So that could be a standard template for an order form, for a deck, for any kind of one pager or a Word doc or a proposal. And you can just say, customize that standard template with this new information. And you could also add in guidelines on, I want blue or black or other pieces of formatting for that deal. That's where we are getting towards. This would probably be live by mid of Feb.
Cool. Matt, you asked, can you upload a template? I'm assuming that was having to do with the kind of conversation on branding guidelines. If you have more to that question, feel free to drop some follow-up. I want to make sure that we're not missing anything. Matthew Burns, that question, can you make the Sybill assistant invisible? I'm assuming that's what you were talking about on the call. Yes, that is the crux of invisible mode, is that you're not actually seeing that Sybill assistant as an attendee of your meeting. It'll just be recording in the background and pushing that recording directly to Sybill. Oh, Gorish, I'm curious if you have any thoughts on Jeff's question. He asked, are there any suggestions for capturing cell phone calls or cell phone call conversations when a prospect calls you?
Great question, Jeff. It's something you can, if you can record the conversation while being on the cell, then we can capture that. And that could be done if the cell is on speaker and you have a recorder on the side. We don't yet have a mobile app. We are working towards building one. It's one of the source of data that is frequently missed and is very dense in terms of like what kind of information it contains. Typically, it's deal shaping information. So we are going to have it. The timeline is probably closer to Q1 of next year.
Follow-up question there was, are you building a dialer?
Yeah, we are. That's
Yeah,
essentially solves both of that's the idea here.
sweet. Matt, I think Gorish spoke to us a little bit about when building a slide deck, can you upload a templated version first and ensure it's branded?
Mhm.
I think we're at a spot right now where Sybill, I would say try it. Sibyl's probably still learning about how to nuance and parse out branding. We started most with like the sales use case and the information heavy stuff, but I would say give it a whirl, and we'll continue to refine file upload to handle that. John Chen asked about CPQ capabilities.
Yeah, John, I'm going to take this in a more broader fashion, which is the goal of what we are trying to do with Sybil, right? Essentially, you shouldn't have to move to 15 different platforms. Everything that I need for the deal should be part of either Ask Sybil or the overall platform. And that includes CPQ. Uh, as part of the fourth piece, what Colin showed in coming up, being able to take actions right from the platform. One of the actions we want to be able to take is if there is an invoice or an order form or a quote to be created, if Sybil already has all of the information pieced together from the call with the customer, but also the call with the manager, the Slack message with the team, then it can automatically create that invoice, create that order form or that quote in the software that you are essentially doing it. So that could be DocuSign, it could be Stripe, it could be HubSpot or Salesforce. But go into the applications in the backend and you simply get a basically review the draft button. So if you need to change anything, you can directly go into those applications. Hopefully you won't need to do that. And you should be able to send it out right from the platform. That's the place where we are getting towards in the next few months. That means no more context switching, no more having to do a bunch of things. It's basically focus on moving the deals forward, and Sybil will help you handle the rest of it in the background.
I think those are all the questions. A lot of folks saying they want invisible mode. So email us, we'll make it happen. I think that's going to be generally available in the next week. I was talking to our head of engineering yesterday, and we were just ironing out like a few final little details just to make sure that the download process is smooth, you know what you're getting, etc. But that'll be very soon. Otherwise, shoot us an email and we can get you access today. All right. In that case, I think that concludes our time. We are fashionably 19 minutes ahead of schedule. So kudos to you, Gorish. Thank you all for joining and making the time. We will send a recording afterwards. If you have more questions about Sybill, you can email Gorish or I, or add us on LinkedIn, or dare I say, book a demo. So you've got some options. And again, thanks for making the time. We'll chat soon.
Thank you, everyone.